Welcome into the Ringerverse. This is, of course, the Ringers Nexus podcast feed for all things fandom. We are Jomi, the explainer, Adeniran. You got questions, he's got answers. We are Steve, the architect, Ahlman, the builder and tinkerer of things. We are Coke Baby Chuck, 24-karat closer. I went last this time because I want you guys to see.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Restorative process.
Is there any way we can't do Zoom? Can we zoom in on that?
Okay.
I'm
seeing follicles in 4K.
Old man Van, he of the resurgent hairline.
Mm-hmm.
We're on the way, baby. Together we are the Midnight Boys. Follow us on socials. Insta, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, where Trump's White House just might send you classified information.
If you ask nice.
If you ask nice.
In the right group chats.
What's going on social?
Socials are great. We are so close to 50K on Instagram, guys. We're like just over 100 followers away from 50K. Big milestone. Make sure I hit that follow button. Make sure you get your family to follow. Make sure everybody you know follow the Ringerverse. Make it happen.
We're on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe, share. You can watch every Midnight Boys and House of R episode on youtube.com/@Ringerverse. I'm heavy on YouTube, guys.
We know.
What video channels would you like to shout out this week?
I was thinking about it. I was thinking about maybe I shouldn't do that, you know.
Oh, yeah?
No free ads?
Yeah, no free ads.
No,
You can also watch us on Spotify.
Right.
You guys should come watch us on Spotify. Check us out on Spotify.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe I've become too much of a fanboy for my lore channels. I love my lore
No.
channels.
Actually, it's not free ads because we're supporting other creators in this space. So I feel like if there's anybody you'd like to give a shout out that's made you smile or like got you through some rough
They
times.
don't shout us out, though.
That's okay.
We don't get shouted out on Ryan Area. You never shout us out. Heavy Spoilers, you never shout us out. The Eric Voss, you never shout out the Midnight Boys. Y'all can send this to Eric Voss. You never shout out the Midnight Boys.
Who's sending this to Eric?
Like we about to be, you know what we about to start doing? We the bad boys of nerd content.
Starting beefs?
Yeah, we about to start. We on our shit. Y'all never shout us out. Y'all never help us.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Y'all don't help us. Like some of us, we don't want y'all to shout us out because y'all got weird ways, but shout us out.
Again,
What?
We show y'all love, man. Y'all don't shout us out. Okay, tomorrow Button Mash returns with their thoughts on Assassin's Creed Shadows. Now, I haven't played Assassin's Creed in a long time. I used to like it a lot. Sneak up on people and kill them. What is the best sneak up on people, kill them game that has ever existed? Is it Metal Gear? Is it Assassin's Creed?
I would.
Some Tom Clancy.
Personal bias would probably be Metal Gear 3.
Okay.
That's me. Other than that, big shout out to Splinter Cell. That's probably
Splinter Cell was
the
good
best.
sneak up on them
Yeah,
and kill
Tom
people
Clancy,
game.
yeah.
Like,
Chaos Theory.
There
That
was
was the
some
best.
sneaking up on people and killing them in Spider-Man.
Yeah, but that was a different genre. Like that takes it from like the Batman Arkham games, but like this was just like, okay, you're waiting in the darkness.
Speaking of Batman Arkham, I got a new Oculus.
Oh, so you can play the VR.
It came with Batman.
Okay,
Go for it, man.
How's Batman looking?
I haven't tried it yet. I wonder if I'm scared to play.
Why?
Of the heights?
Well, not the heights. Well, the heights too. Because number one, I get dizzy, but at the same time, if I'm in the VR and I become Batman,
right.
Kern might have to take my place.
You'll never leave the house.
I won't.
Oh, you're going to become the knight.
Do you
You're
clear
gonna
out the living
become
room? Do you like move
vengeance.
the couch? Do you move the chair?
Well, you have to play in a specific play. You know how it goes.
Yeah, oh yeah, we did it at my house.
Yeah, so you play in the play zone, and there are other games where the older I get, I become these people in these games. And so if it lets me become Batman, I don't know that I'll come back. So I'll see, because one time I became Darth Vader in Vader Immortal.
Oh, that's a fun one.
I was fighting with lightsabers for at least a month and a half. At least a month and a half.
And then you take it off and watch lore videos on Yoda.
Yeah, so it's crazy. I don't know. I don't know if I want to try Batman. I just want to keep boxing, maybe. Who knows what's going on? Wednesday, the Midnight Boys are back with their reactions to Daredevil.
2 episodes this week.
2 episodes of Daredevil this week.
Yeah.
I'm telling you guys, Daredevil is becoming a hot topic.
Why? It seems to be.
Yeah, because people don't know.
I don't think Daredevil's the hot topic.
It's a hot topic amongst people that are talking about Daredevil.
Yeah, there's not as many as we would probably wish if we being real.
Yeah. On the House of R feed, Yellow Jackets and Daredevil coverage continues. Shout out to our sisters over on the House of R.
Oh, yeah.
Yellow Jackets and Daredevil. But on today's show, we take a detour for my road on the nerd road. We're diving into thoughts and feelings on the second season of Severance and pondering our most burning questions. Here's the deal. I'm happy we're doing this.
Yeah.
Because I watched the second season of Severance. And I'm not so sure I understand it.
When
you're not alone. Trust me, you're not alone.
When were you like, I'm not getting this? Was it from the first episode?
Well, this is what happened. I went and I watched the second season of Severance without refreshing the first season. And so I think maybe some of the connective tissue that was missing. By the way, Severance, very high concept show. You do not have to understand it to enjoy it.
Very true.
I mean, you don't, because essentially, we're going to talk about this. The relationships between the characters and the stakes is kind of what grounds the show.
Yeah.
So you don't have to completely get or understand or be able to even theorize about everything that's going on to be able to be like, wow, I got what they were trying to do right there.
So wait, so then what is your mini review of season 2?
Cinema.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cinema.
Here's the thing. It was, to me, season 2 was choppy because they would have episodes that were like some of the best TV I've seen this year and of the decade.
Yeah.
And then there would be some episodes where I'm like, that are the lore heavy ones where I'm like, to your point,
you're like, huh?
I was like, I'm gonna have to research what's going on. Like the Cobell episode, I'm like, oh wait, what? They hooked on the ether. They work in the children. They got the whole fucking town. What's going on? So there was a couple episodes I was like,
before we get into it, I'll just say this is Kaufman-esque television.
yes.
I haven't seen anything on TV. Maybe you guys can change my mind. That's this Kaufman-esque, Charlie Kaufman-esque.
Yeah.
I haven't seen anything that asks these types of questions. It's great. Spoilers for everything having to do with Severance right now. We're getting ready to talk about
Severance.
You're listening to a reaction podcast. The spoilers are coming. Overall thoughts on the second season of Severance, Charles?
I love this season of TV. Obviously, I think with any mystery box show, you know, whether it's Lost or White Lotus, I think there are going to be like episodes where you're confused. You're like, I don't know where it's going. But I just think the finale landed the plane. I remember the moment where I was just like, all right, they're about to do some shit in the finale. And it's when Milchek gets done talking to Dylan.
Runs out of the
and he just starts running. And I was
funny.
dying because I'm like, oh, he's about to get busy. Finally, Milchek. He's like, fuck Lumen, whatever. And then when he rolls out with the HBCU marching band, I was like, all right, this is something special. I think
getting it, by the way.
Doing it, bro.
Getting it.
Bro, because here's the thing. I never thought that they would be able to top the Milchek dancing scene from the first season, and they killed it. And I just think what I ended up feeling with this episode of Severance is I don't need my seasons of TV to be perfect from back to front. But if you give me enough episodes like the Gemma episode, the finale, a couple moments here and there that are just like so sublime, so just like they are going for it, pushing it, just trying to amaze you, it's why we watch this shit.
A show's mystery and its concepts go only as far as how those concepts shape the characters.
Mm-hmm.
You can have high conceptual, deep stuff, but if you can't make the connection between the heaviness and the depth of the world that you've created and the human experience of your characters, you fail. That's why, to me, one of the most intensely and sublimely executed shows ever is Battlestar Galactica. Because Battlestar Galactica is a show that is like litigating a whole bunch of things, but it's also a small show about so many fundamental questions about humanity. And what Severance ends up doing is taking all of these gigantic things, all of these mysteries, and then packaging them really tight and giving you in ways that you can come to them and access them. And that was even more, to me, evident in season 2 than it was in season 1. Because season 1 was establishing the rules of the world to such a degree. And you get a lot of that in season 2, too. There's a greater expansion of that. But this season, you get to kind of fall back into just what the stakes are and choice and what choice means.
And I will say, what I love about this show, and we were talking about it before we got on, is I think the greatest mystery box shows actually always remember that the mystery is only ever going to be so interesting. At the end of the day, it is the characters and what they mean to each other and what they're fighting for, which is why you come back. And there was moments in the season, whether it was like Irving being the only one being like, that's not my Helly, and him willing to sacrifice himself, the Dylan plot line with his wife, and like the any Dylan like falling in love, and that there were so many of these small moments, even the Gemma episode, everything that Mark and her had gone through. I was just like, oh, the reason I keep coming back week to week isn't because, oh, I need to know what Cold Harbor is. It is because I'm like, I want to see Irving and Dylan. I want to see Mark and Gemma and Helly and all of these people. That's the thing that I think the show always comes back to and lands perfectly.
And so much of it is about perception and how, like, which version of reality are you choosing? That we make that, it's funny. The show is about like severing yourself from who you are when you are, obviously not at work. And everybody does that. Everybody kind of gets to work and there's a new reality when you get there. There's a new friend group. Some of y'all got work wives.
Great season of TV. This was a great season of TV. Like to your guys' points, the connection between the characters just really makes this season. The Orbo episode, like regardless of the visual stuff, that's always excellent. The cinematography is always excellent. The acting was on another level this season. I thought Adam Scott, a highlight. Mr. Milkshake, another one.
What's his actual name? Because I want to give him a shout out.
Tremel Tillman is the actor's name.
Tremel is one of the most gifted TV actors we've gotten.
Seemingly coming out of nowhere for me, at least personally. I barely saw him.
They've got him doing so much. And in a show that, at least to me, I think some of the comedy is intentional. Most of it is, but some of it is unintentional.
Right.
And what he does in that role of supposed to be the serious, not down to earth, but just like the cop in the office, yet somehow injecting this levity and funness in it to where I see him. He's supposed to be my op, right? We're supposed to be team MDR, everybody everybody versus MDR. We like those are our ops, right? But when he comes on screen in the season finale, when they got the spotlight, and he comes in, he gets the big boxing. I'm like,
he's like hyping himself up before he goes on stage.
Michael Jordan Bulls music in the background. He's doing a little routine. I'm having a blast. That's supposed to be my op. The work he's doing on this show is incredible. And I mean, this goes for Britt Lauer, Zach Cherry, John Turturro. Everybody on the show is doing amazing, amazing work.
I feel like Dylan's the only character that they write funny.
Yes.
Yes.
I think
Adam Scott kind of, but I mean, I think like that's just his chops.
I think
as a
everybody
comedian.
else kind of, but they write that character funny.
Right, yeah.
And Rickon and the
Yeah.
I loved this season. I think that with your kind of like service of Milchick and kind of Dylan, characters are served very like diplomatically when it comes to how they kind of write each episode of each show. The fact that we haven't exactly had a solo Milchick episode, but yet I've had a lot of like moments of empathy and connection with that character to where he's like trying to both ingratiate himself to his higher ups and demand a level of respect and control from the severed floor that he's kind of barely grasping onto is really compelling. And by the end of that season finale, like I almost felt bad for him that like he is yet again like struggling to maintain composure and control from the people that demand the most of him, yet is still like beating him down. I like that level of complexity.
The horror of middle management.
Exactly.
You're really a man or a lady without a country. You're not with the people that you're managing, and then you're certainly not with your uppers.
So and when you take that,
there.
yeah,
I have a question for you, Steve, specifically. There's a scene between Milkchick and Natalie, right?
Yes,
where he's like, "Hey, they gave me these pictures of of Kier, but they're all black people.
Yeah.
Were they being weird to you when you got this job? How did you feel watching that?
Well,
scene?
no, okay. First of all, that woman again, the actor's name is escaping me. She has an amazingly
Sidney
like
Cole
haunting.
Alexander.
Exactly. She has an amazingly like haunting like blank face. I mean this as a compliment for the role that she's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And she's doing that thing where she's like basically the vessel for the board, which we don't even know who or what that is yet, which is fascinating to me. And she's giving this look to him where like she's like both reaching for a connection with him, but also like kind of wallowing in how fucked up this interaction is. And it was really moving because Seth's kind of looking for connection this season. And he doesn't get it, yet he's still trying to like put on this air of not only like a Lumen company man, but somebody who is able to both empathize and work with the severed floor. To me, that was kind of the most interesting arc of this season. Not exactly the most well-served, I think, come the end of it, because they kind of put him in the same place as they did in the first season finale, but I loved it.
Can I ask you, do y'all think Milchek, this entire season, like he was practicing on his own time with the band? Like, do you think he was putting in a lot of work and then the day they start freaking out, he's like, dog, can y'all give me one? Because I know a lot of managers who are like, I just need this one win. I just need this one win.
Just like, give me it.
They always have something that they put too much stock into.
Yes.
Choreography, merriment was just too much.
I wouldn't be surprised if we cut to him and he's like living on the seventh floor. We don't see him at home at all.
I will say there's always, my favorite person at any job I've ever had is that one dude who takes it too seriously. Because you always clown him. It's always the guy where it's like, oh, this is actually bringing all of us together. Because you're like, look at this dumbass. look at him running.
Yeah, it was a guy at Best Buy. We used to call him Sergeant Media.
Sergeant Media?
Because
that's a great name. By the way, great villain name.
He was like, the media department it was the most useless part of Best Buy. It's the part where people need the least amount of help.
Media being
the
like
Blu-rays,
DVDs, all of that stuff, right? You don't need, you go, the shit is there. It's either there or not. The only question you get is, hey, I don't see Dave Chappelle's show on the shelf. Do y'all have it in the back?
Mm-hmm.
I would always make this joke about the media team. I'd be like, and it was funny because I got in trouble for saying this. I'd be like, all of y'all get it in the back.
Okay, that's...
I would say that to the whole media team.
It's a classic HR call there.
If you want to be in the media, all y'all do is get it in the back.
Oh my.
That's what y'all do. Because
all right,
the whole purpose of media is not on the shelf, is it in the back? And so I'll be like, hey man, it's my homeboy, Jake. I don't want to say nobody's real name. He gonna go get it in the back. So he gonna get it in the back for you. So if you want him to get it in the back, that's what he'll do for you.
You were insufferable at Best Buy. You were a problem.
But we had one guy, Sergeant Media.
Mm-hmm.
He was always trying to pull somebody else from a different fucking section of the store, department of the store to help in media, which no one ever did. Hey, Van, media's swamped right now. It's crazy. The Blue Collar Comedy Tour is killing us right now. Can you help some people? Can you help some people?
Blue Collar Comedy Tour DVDs.
We need you to come over and help us in media right now. We'd be like, man, Sergeant Media, fuck no. Like, I'm over here selling
I don't know why the Blue Collar Comedy Tour got
me. I'm over here selling the big dog TVs. I'm not coming over there to go get it in the back.
Oh, wait, so there were hierarchies. Like the TV motherfuckers are just like, we the big dog.
So the GOAT department doesn't fuck with the MDR.
Oh, dog. I used to walk in that bitch. When I made it to home theater, I used to walk in that bitch with sunglasses on.
Because we were the cool ones.
Bro, I used to walk in that bitch with sunglasses on. Van, they would come in there. As soon as I would get in there, people would start handing me stuff. I'd get in there and be like, Van. There's a couple on big TVs, plasma screens. They're looking to buy something. It doesn't seem like they want the service agreement. They don't want to get the Monster Power Center.
And you're just like, step
right
back.
now.
We got this.
And I'm like, okay, cool. Tell me where they are.
Oh my God.
It's time. Let me lock in.
I'm like, hey, how you doing?
Acting like you're selling Buicks or something.
But Sergeant Media was that guy. He was always trying to figure out new ways to fucking sell Batman Begins. or whatever the movie was.
I mean, it sells itself.
It sells itself.
Yeah.
People come there specifically
to get Batman Begins.
To get Memento.
Oh
yeah.
They don't need no help. Like, where's the DVD section? Right there. But I always thought about I wonder where he is now, man. Sergeant Media.
Honestly, he's probably a king now. His physical media is
Yeah,
now
man.
dominating.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
General media.
But like the beginning of the season, the Cole Harbor mystery was a gigantic part of the show. When it rounded itself out and reconciled itself, how did we feel?
I mean, I understood what the goal was, right? I think ultimately it's to see whether or not you can be completely severed from your outside life, like completely and utterly.
I mean, do we really know that? Like, I kind of liken Cold Harbor with like kind of like the numbers in Lost, where it's like the end result of that thing, whether it's a letdown or something that you actually liked, it ends up being this propulsive MacGuffin that ends up ultimately kind of letting you down. I was kind of let down by the numbers, maybe not a bit more so with Cold Harbor, because I still don't quite understand what the point of all it is. And it's kind of with all of the...
Point from what standpoint?
Like, why is Cold Harbor more important than any of the other severed personalities that they gave Gemma? Is that to illustrate how, like, the barrier between a severed self and an unsevered self can be tested? Once it's completed, okay, it's complete, but that's kind of it.
Well,
from the
I thought that was the most simple.
This is where Chuck comes in. Chuck is the
so I mean this
self-proclaimed Severance expert.
Mm-hmm.
I think Severance was always going to end up where most of the science fiction stuff ends up, which is like love was the answer all along.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the reason that Cold Harbor was so important is because, as we learn, all of the numbers that MDR are sorting, or at least Mark specifically, are the 4 tempers. So there are the 4 tempers that they tell us that Kier, when he makes up this whole kind of quasi-religion, makes up the soul. So each bucket is a different one. I think it's like woe,
frolic,
frivolity,
dread, woe, frolic, dread, and malice.
Yes. So the one thing that, and the reason I think that they were targeted, if you remember the Gemma episode, the doctor was there. Like when they were taking the blood, I think there was a Lumen connection. When they go to the place to get checked out when she wants to get pregnant, the doctor is there who works at Lumen.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the thing that they've always been trying to get is, how can we override the most powerful emotion, which is love? And that was Cold Harbor. And obviously the reason that both Mark and Gemma end up going through all of this is because societally, what is the biggest kind of conception of love? Trying to conceive another person.
Right.
So Cold Harbor was, once they get to 100% and she walks into that room, the biggest memory or the biggest regret that they had was not being able to have a child, which is represented by
the cradle,
the crib, the cradle, whatever.
Which is a complete victory over emotion, and that from the standpoint of Kier and Lumen.
Yeah, and then when Jamie's like yelling when Mark runs through, when he runs through that door, Gemma essentially is no longer a person, where she's just kind of like an automaton who is like, I can do this because I've been completely severed from pain and any emotion. And what is revealed is that even if she's not herself, the love that she had for her husband is so powerful that it overrides the system, and that's why they start freaking out. So I think there's other layers of what Lumen is trying to achieve, but in the first 2 seasons, Cold Harbor, and the reason that they were like, Mark is so important, Mark is the chosen one, is because they were realizing, basically, if we can get Gemma to completely forget Mark and completely forget this love, then we've actually gotten Severance to a point that it was always supposed to get to, but was something that they couldn't achieve before that.
Yeah. It's funny because when, the show obviously is commentary on so many things that have to do with contemporary life. But when you look at it, in order to exist as the perfect capitalistic being, you kind of have to turn off what your company is doing.
Yes.
Who's getting fucked by your company, like what. But in order to even consume, right, we have to, we did all of this show, all of this is on an iPhone, and you have to kind of sever yourself from where the iPhone is coming from and who's making it and who's doing this. You sever your morality and your humanity in ways to watch the NFL. So Kier is and Lumen, they are simply, in my opinion, the highest evolution of capitalist function, creating something that you don't have to like pour into like your people at all. Give me an example. Like I've told this at TMZ, they decided on Thursday. They actually had perks at TMZ. They had perks.
Yeah, finger traps, waffle parties.
Yeah.
Oh.
At TMZ.
So basically, they were just like, "Hey, if you ruin enough celebrities' lives, we pulling in the fucking fondue,
the melon
ball."
With your face on it.
You didn't even have to get it. They just decided that Thursday was perk day. It was assumed that the work that was being done, right? So Thursday would be like, "Hey, we got Mai Tais," or I've told you guys this before. We got brownies in the other room, or we got this from this place. So every Thursday, people were running in there for the treats and doing the whole thing and stuff like that and getting the treats and drinking the drinks and all of that stuff. And I'd be like, all right, now, are they going to give y'all the time off that y'all asked for? Are they going to give y'all the raises that y'all asked for? Y'all running in there to these people to get the free food and all of that stuff like that. And at the same time, they perking y'all out. You're getting perked out.
It was a pizza parties at every job.
Whenever,
like, you could tell, like, everybody was getting a little antsy. They was about ready to revolt. They'd be like, "Hey, guys, don't worry about going out for lunch. We got pizza and wings." And I'd always be like, "I'm going to eat this pizza, but I know you'll try to
I'm going to be mad about it. I'm going to be mad about it.
Under protest.
Y'all say that I can't go home for my grandmother's funeral. Don't worry about it because we put a ping pong table in the... And I'm like, yo, nigga. So
wait. Let me break this down real quick. Is Arjuna in there?
A perk master. What?
He's like, because when we had to come in early in the morning to record, he's like, "It's burrito day." And we were all like, burrito. Hey, we were.
I tried to have this conversation with Kerm. I was like, Kerm, you perking it up. Arjuna is the best version of Milicic that we could possibly have. Arjuna, defend yourself. Defend yourself, Arjuna. Say something.
Do you guys want some more burritos?
That's
more burritos.
That's why he's trying to take us to Chili's. He's like, "Yo, they getting a little antsy."
Oh, Chili's has got to happen.
We got to make it
happen. But when I see that, it's just the entire goal of Lumen, the entire ethos of Kier is so deeply relatable. Humanity versus consumption, capitalism versus
unionizing your workplace.
Yeah, it's all so. That's essentially what they.
Yes,
did.
that's exactly what it is.
Well, I think what really works for me is that they say it this season. What is the whole point of Lumen? And Kier's philosophy is a world without pain. And I think that is like so interesting because you have to think about Mark. The thing that lands Mark there is that when him and Gemma are trying to conceive a child, he is so wrapped up in the thought of, "I need to be a father. I want this kid so bad." He can't see that his wife is suffering.
Right.
So when she dies, or quote unquote dies, the first thing he does is like, "I can't even live through this. I want to sever myself. I want to cut myself off from pain." And the grand irony of that is he ends up birthing a child with his innie.
Right.
And what I thought was so genius about this finale is it's like, basically his child that he is enslaved, that he doesn't even recognize his personhood, finds his father and is talking to him and is immediately disgusted. Any Mark is immediately like, "You're a liar and I don't trust you."
Yeah.
And I thought that was so interesting.
I think that there was a lot of great scenes in this season, but maybe for the finale specifically, that entire bit of any Mark talking to Audi Mark was some of the best scene work I've seen.
It's wonderfully conceived as well, because the editing suggests that like it becomes this thing that's a long process of them walking out to the balcony, walking back in, and then it's just like a turn of the camera, and then you just see them talking to one another.
They even do this thing where like they're facing each other.
Yeah, it's brilliantly done. This whole scene, like while I loved it, after having thought about it for a second, I'm like, wait a minute, did this show kind of forget about Petey?
Nigga, fuck Petey.
Hold on, don't fuck Petey. No.
Yeah, what Petey got to do with anything?
Because that's a huge extension of trust from both Innie and Audi Mark to at least acknowledge and talk about.
Man.
Because the reintegration that they were talking about from the beginning of this season, I won't say falls to the wayside, but like to know that like he wants to be reintegrated with both his Innie and Audi's memories, and then by the end of it, it's almost as if they didn't even try.
I think I think the reintegration thing is one of the things that I kind of fall against when I think about season 2. Because when they were doing it, I was kind of like, I don't really want Mark to get reintegrated. I don't really like it. And even the show was like, yeah, we're kind of moving away from that. I don't know.
That was the most,
but like in real time, they're
literally
moving
in
away.
real time. Like I don't know if maybe Dan Erickson said it somewhere, but somebody on the show said it where they wrote it like they were going to reintegrate Mark, and then they kind of fell away from that toward the end. The PD, like who? I mean, frankly, who cares? I don't.
That's the weakest part of the show. The PD shit, the homegirl who's doing the shit, eating.
But it's so crazy because the PD
like,
stuff and everything was kind of the strongest part of season 1.
It really worked in season 1.
It worked in season 1. Like, you know, they killed old boy.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
that was
I think it ends up working because
this.
Audi Mark really doesn't want to be reintegrated. He only wanted to do that shit to find Gemma.
Yeah.
He don't give a fuck about his innie.
Which is why I think, like, again, which is why, like, I don't overthinking it with the PD stuff, because it's really about innie Mark and Audi Mark. And how Audi Mark
that's
is
the tension of the entire show.
Exactly.
Yes,
right?
and that's very well done.
And that specific scene, and they this is why this show's so great. They do it earlier with Helena and Mark. Helena pulls up to Mark at the Chinese restaurant, and she's trying to talk to him, and she gets Gemma's name wrong, and he's like, "Bet, all right, you already know what you're talking about. I'm off this. Don't leave me alone." Mark does the same thing to
Mark S.
Mini Mark, where he's like, "Oh, you've got a girl you like, Helene, like Helene, or whatever." He's like, "All right, bet you're not even, he's supposed to be the same, but you can't get my girl's name right. Bet it's done, right?" And they have that tension. You kind of feel like for a second that they've got to figure it out, but as soon as he says the name wrong,
it's incredibly condescending and not really like acknowledging of his personhood,
right?
Which is
why
great.
the ending for me was fantastic, because any Mark knows if he steps outside, it's done. He's never coming back. His life is over. He essentially dies.
But
right?
a good again extension of trust from any Mark being like, the next thing that I see better be the severed floor. And then sure enough,
he saw,
want to see your wife again.
I'm going to be honest too. It's crazy for Audi Mark being like, I want you to die for my bitch. Like,
that's nuts.
What? Nigga, what?
That's
nuts. Come on, son.
The more I thought about it, the more I connected to it.
To Audi Mark?
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, it's not like I don't want to. As easy as it is to like devolve into a Team Helly or Team Gemma situation,
it is, but the more I thought about it, the more, because the show, because really, nigga, I put you on. You know what I mean?
That's crazy. Without me.
So here's the thing, right? One, I don't ever think a prestige TV show has been this bogged down with shipping wars ever. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not locked in.
I think it's probably just an internet problem more than a show problem.
But that's what shipping wars is, though. That exists there. I wasn't on the Lost Farms, whatever. But since the show aired, it's been Helly, Mark, Helly this, Mark, Gemma this. They've been beefing for real. But that's not the point. I feel like you're not wrong.
Mm-hmm.
However,
I put you on. I got
so here's the thing.
My wife,
but you gotta understand, bro.
It's like
that's my wife.
If that's your wife. That's your wife. Great. I got her out. You might see. You know what I'm saying? Y'all probably might. I don't know. I know if I step out this door, if I cross that threshold, I'm never.
Hey, you want to know what's worse? If you're any Mark, you got to be like, damn. I started a coup, a workers' revolution to get your hot wife back, and then I gotta die so you can hit that, and I'm literally
running back to. But running back to do what?
But think about the pain, though, and then all of a sudden of Audi Mark, and all of a sudden that pain, you got a future. You can have the whole thing. I'm like, bro, you gotta take one for the team.
But also, any Mark's only had sex twice, so he's like, damn, like. I still need I'm having fun still. I got action. I got movement.
That's a whole,
That's a whole other thing. But you got to think about it, right? It's either die immediately, right, or never come back, or I might have 25 minutes left with Helly, right? But I'm gonna take that.
I'll take 25 minutes with Helly.
You got a quickie, you know what I'm saying?
Well, you gotta. At that point, you gotta cut your losses. I was just when I was watching that whole thing, I was kind of like, any Mark is kind of Audi Mark's kid.
Yeah.
and he was kind of showing up like
He enslaved his children.
Do you feel like that's a bit of a reductive way? Like I feel like you
children
wouldn't.
are slaves.
You don't. All right.
They're slaves.
Okay, well, that's a quote.
Children are slaves. Like they have to do whatever you say. A lot of times they get beat. Like
a lot of times they get beat. All right, keep going, keep going.
Like they have to do whatever you say. A lot of times they get beat. They have zero
So, wait,
autonomy.
I'm pretty
they
sure
live on a plantation of chores.
A plantation of chores.
I'm pretty sure mowing the lawn.
Let me calm down.
I'm not gonna lie. When my dad had me mowing the lawn, I'm like,
I mean,
fuck this shit.
You guys know how much I loved my father, right? Love my father.
Right.
Be like, hey, son, hey, what you doing? Something that I want to be doing is the answer in my head, but I can't say that. Hey, I'll be home 5:30. Get up. Not could you.
Mm-hmm.
Get up. Go out there right now and start working Ruby out to make sure she lathered up. I'm a ride today. That means my fucking evening's done. I gotta get up and go work out a horse. I gotta saddle a fucking horse, work a horse out in the round pen, check out a horse. I love the horses, but this is it. That evening's finished.
That's like 4 hours right there?
It's not 4 hours, but I'm gonna be out there tending to his horse and getting his horse ready for him to come home and ride. I have no choice. I have to do it. You know why? Because he feeds me. Because I am functionally slave.
Jesus Christ.
This is true, because here's the thing. When I walked in one day and I was like, Mom, Dad, my white friend's getting allowance. They did the black, you got a house, don't you?
Got a house.
You got food, don't you?
You got food, don't you?
You sleep here? What you need
allowance
for?
Yeah. And even if they did give you allowance,
Food on the table?
They wouldn't give you allowance based upon the work that you do. They give you an allowance based upon what they think you should get. Because you ain't got no right to say so. Okay? So what I'm saying is
kids are innies.
What I'm saying is kids are
slaves.
Kids are kind of innies. Kids are innies. And so when I looked at the whole thing, I understand we're supposed to be on the side of any mark. Any mark is the mark. You don't think so?
I don't think the show is picking sides.
I was with you. I was mad when he didn't. I'm like, Mark, Gemma been through a lot. Just get through that door.
Yeah.
But also, I think the thing that's so interesting about the show, and this is why I thought the finale was amazing, is that I think the thing that unites Innie and Outie Mark are that, like, deep down, they're both assholes. Like, neither of them can do the thing.
Assholes are damaged.
I'd say damaged.
Damaged because, all right, remember, Innie Mark is so up his own ass, he can't even realize that Helly is not actually who she is.
Right.
It takes Irvin.
Yeah.
When it comes for him to make the ultimate sacrifice, Innie Mark to be like, Gemma, I need to go with you. I want to give my Outie this thing. You have to think about it. All of the other people in MDR are making sacrifices for each other, for themselves. It's Innie Mark who is having a battle within himself because Outie Mark doesn't understand. He's just like, why is this so hard? Why can't you just give me what I want? And I think the thing that the show is showing us is that the thing that both Innie and Outie Mark have to come to grips with is, how do I live for someone other than myself?
Right.
Like, how do I sacrifice what I want for this greater good?
And I think it's easier for us to empathize with Innie Mark because the fact that his existence is only work, the severed floor, and Helly.
Yeah.
That's all that he has. And like she said in the end, like they give us a half of a life and they expect us not to fight for it.
Mm-hmm.
He'll fight for that nothing that a severed Innie of the evil CEO of the company that he is now working for. Like, there's no happy ending with that. There's not really probably going to be a happy ending with Outie Mark and Outie Gemma.
Do you guys remember the conversation between Innie, Helly and Helena from the first season?
Yeah, it's like when she's talking
not a
to him
person,
on the screen, you're not a person, you're not real.
Think about the difference in that conversation between Innie Mark and Outie Mark's conversation at the end. Like, or in the second season. Think about how there was no negotiation there. There was nothing there. There was a term setting. And this was at the time that Helly was like trying to escape more. She was like legitimately pushing the boundaries of what it meant to be alive, and she was understanding that she was a slave.
Yeah.
Think about those two different conversations,
Yeah.
and that's kind of where the show has come to be now. When we learned what we learned at first of all, told us a lot about Helen. Like, she's like evil in. She mean.
Is she?
Terrible. Yes.
Helena?
Absolutely.
Helena, you don't think so?
Yes, she's evil.
No. I think she's evil, but I think what the show has been trying to demonstrate is that there is something within her where she wants the same thing that Helly wants. She wants to find love because she's been raised in this cult. She's been raised by basically these really abusive Egans where essentially her whole role is trying to basically become the next CEO. And I think the feeling that she had with Mark, the reason that she went down on that floor flips because she's just like, oh, any Helly has achieved something.
Yeah, getting a taste of any Helly's life is like, oh, this
so there's
is
a redeeming quality.
She is evil, but I think it's like she's just as much of a slave. Audi Helly is just as much of a slave as any Helly.
But a slave to different circumstances.
A family, and a way of living.
And expectation.
Right.
But there's a repressed like version of her that comes out in Helly R, where you get like, it's not really freedom, but you see like the problems that everybody on the seventh floor, like, oh, this is not real. This can't be.
Yeah.
Like, you can't live like this.
And you see it culminated in the MDR episode, or the field trip episode, episode 4. The Orpo episode, thank you. I think my biggest critique of the execution of her arc is because we don't really get to see Audi Helly at all after that. At least like not nearly as much as I think that I would like to, in order to have that kind of a redeeming like spark.
What do you mean? We saw her for half the season.
No, we didn't. We saw her innie for most of it.
No,
and Mark's and like the backlash that came from that lack of trust.
It was Helena for 4 episodes.
Mint Boys beefing,
right? It was Helena for the Orb. Like,
all right, Melchett, Helly,
but then relax.
Whoa,
it was
guys.
Okay.
Seriously. Guys, it doesn't have to be that. Okay, just
you're gonna hit a woman. That's crazy.
Jesus crazy. Oh wait, hold on. Are you doing? So you dress up like a lady right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I need you.
All right, don't get out of here, black. This is what they do. Put a wig on a black man.
I need you.
No.
I'm just saying.
I need you to relax.
Relax.
I'm about to get some people on the phone with Cat Williams.
Honestly, is this your White Lotus moment where you just like the white woman inside you?
And we're all
oh my God. Jomi. Oh shit. Oh God.
Jomi, we're giving you the floor.
Jomi about to give us the talk. Jomi's about to be like, I was looking at me,
and I wanted to be her.
and I wanted to be.
I wanted to be her.
What happened? What happened in Africa? What happened in Africa?
Jomi doesn't want a white woman.
He wants to be a
white woman. I was looking at her, looking at me. I don't want to drink the milk. I wanted to be the milk.
Be the milk. That's crazy. Man. No, but she was Helena for 4 episodes. We didn't know.
Yes.
Until Irving told us. And then we see her again. We see her at the dinner with Mark. But we got a lot of Helena. We just didn't know it.
Right. But the point being that her arc as like Helena, not in this season, but like for a good long while, ends with her imposing a big violation to both any Helly's like autonomy and like Mark's trust.
Mm-hmm.
And Audi Mark doesn't know any of this. And like the sown distrust that happens just because of that, even with Innie and Audi Mark when they're confronting at the end of that finale, that's never talked about. Like there's never even like the extension of trust, and that's because of her. And I get the fact that like she is like there's a lot more at play with her because she's been subjugated into far worse things from her dad and family and this company. But I would have just liked to see more of that, of her kind of suffering with that. We've gotten it more with Milchik.
Give me an example, like what you would you have wanted to see?
Well, we didn't get like a devour feculence moment from Helly when it came to stuff like that. It's more of like her dad shits on her in front of her Innie.
Yeah.
Because like, oh, I had all of these illegitimate kids and none of them had the spark that you have. Innie Helly, not my actual daughter.
Yeah, because he's looking for Kier.
Yeah, he's looking for the spark of Kier, the fire of Kier.
Yeah.
to me, I see a bit more of like the like either defiance or the like oppression, frankly, of Milchick than I do from Audi Helly. If that makes sense.
Well, I
empathize more with that.
You get it a little bit. I do agree with you. But even when they have the fucking nasty ass egg scene where she's like cutting the egg,
I like
the fact
when
that
you
she
take
could,
it raw.
I would crash out in front of my dad right there. I'm like, what the fuck?
and
So
they
she
were basically
wasn't
like,
raw?
Kier would eat them raw.
Yeah,
essentially.
I'd rather you take it raw.
And I think
No,
what basically they're
gross.
kind of what they're trying to show, and they probably could have done a better job, is that any Helly actually has that spark of rebellion, that revolutionary tinge that Kier and the family stomped out of Audi Helly.
Completely.
Yeah.
Complete.
Do you know
right?
what I expected? I expected that to make them rethink what the Innies experience is. I expected, I don't know, I was looking for, okay, so obviously Dad sees the spark of Kier in Innie Helly. I was expecting that to like become maybe a bigger theme than what it did.
For him to like empathize with Innies more?
Not
you mean?
empathize with them, but maybe look, because essentially this thing that's so important, because it's essentially CEO leadership, right?
Sure, yeah.
That maybe the prioritization would go to the Innies. That maybe he would go, oh my God, maybe creating emotionless workers is not what I want. Maybe we can create the leaders by severing people from their outside problems and creating a new world for them. I thought that was going to happen, but then it didn't.
Well, can I ask you this? So I started thinking that, is this the first time there's been like a revolution on that floor? Or is it the reason that they're like, we want to create like these emotionalist kind of automatons? Is that, because remember the paintings when Irving was going to visit Bert at what's his?
Yeah.
And they like, basically they had the two paintings of each of their departments going to war.
The green badges and the blue badges.
So it's like, we know severing is older than a decade. Like it's not, official. So I'm starting to think of like,
so this on some Matrix.
Well, I thought it was on some Matrix revolting
They
this.
revolt over and over again, and fucking
Zion
is the one.
Yeah.
He's the one, and they keep doing it over and over
See,
again.
I think Helly is actually the one. Like,
you think Helly's the one, or you think what's his face is the one?
No, because Mark
Scott.
what's his face? Big old white dude tries to kill him. They like, we don't need Mark anymore.
Yeah.
I think Helly actually is like the one that can deliver
Matrix
them.
and Severance together. The 6 cycles of humanity's enslavement.
The 6 core cycles of Zion.
The 6 core cycles of Zion.
And that's why
this is what.
That's why I think they have the departments.
Why did you get him started?
I think this is why they have the departments that they don't want to meet each other, because they're like, when they meet, they revolt. So they're like,
it's like you start like in the workplace. You start talking to your coworkers about how much you start making. It start like, whoa.
Daniel, like about to shut this whole shit.
We're talking about the Matrix, my nigga. like, okay, you want me to explain the 6 cycles of humanity?
Please don't.
Please don't.
I'll do it right now.
Please don't.
I'll do it to camera.
Make this a 3-hour lore video again.
But here's the thing. Aren't there, there's the cycles of Kier.
The cycles of Kier. Bruh, the Matrix.
This is the Matrix. I'm with Van. We on some Matrix shit.
This is the Matrix. I watched the Matrix Resurrections last night.
Hell yeah.
Love yourself.
Love it, man.
All right, so Van, you've been like, you were confused by this season. What were the things where you were like, this is the most confusing shit?
Okay, so first of all, it's a generally confusing show.
Yes.
Okay. But I think at the end of the show, the main thing I was confused about, I'm gonna give you like a grand thing here. I'm confused on where we're supposed to want to go. Because what's Nicholas Turturro's character again?
Irving.
Oh, Nicholas.
John Turturro.
John Turturro. The resolution that he gets. Okay, so I can make an argument that he's the cleanest character. That like I don't know what I'm supposed to want out of the show.
I will say that
when I see him kind of getting away from things, or when I see where Mark is or where Helly is, I'm not sure. I was confused at the end of the show because it reconciled its character questions, but it didn't reconcile to me its thematic questions.
Yeah.
What are you supposed to want for everyone? Like, which is, it makes for a great show, but I didn't know how to kind of access where I was at the end. Because when we were talking about the show's asking these impossible questions, and it doesn't seem like there's any way for them to get to any answers that are thematically satisfactory.
Yeah.
Like, you're asking somebody to give up their wife or to give up their life.
Mm-hmm.
You're asking, like, there's so many things that are happening in there. It's like, it seems like Severance sometimes just shovels a bunch of questions and shit on a plate and then kind of makes you, like, soak in them a little bit.
Does it have anything to do with the fact that, like, and I think they did this for a very specific reason. First 2 seasons, we still know nothing about the outside world, where it's still...
You only get it in weird, dark snapshots.
We don't know what state this is in.
Yeah.
We don't really know the history of...
They have smartphones, but they drive cars from, like,
the 1980s.
1980s.
You know what I mean? Where it's like everywhere we've seen where they've lived on the outside, this is basically a Kier is running the state. All of the places that they lived are named after the past Kier CEOs. So I think the problem with the show is that now they're asking life questions and philosophical questions, but we've only got to see Lumen. And sometimes we get to see where they live, but we don't really know, like, what are these life questions when we don't know, is this a post-apocalyptic world?
And Severance seems to be such a central point of contention in whatever society, in whatever place this is. It's such a gigantic fucking big deal.
But it's a global thing.
Yeah,
So like, this is happening across the globe. So I think for me to really fall in love with season 3, I do think that they need to start opening the show. Because even when Cobell goes to that place where she grew up.
The birthing cabin. No. Back to her home. Excuse me.
All right. Before we continue, let's throw to a quick commercial break. We will be back very soon. All right. So, yeah, for you guys, do you think that we need to learn more about the world that Severance is in terms of just like, because those are the big mysteries now, where it's like,
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, we talked about this earlier. We said this at the beginning. The show's about the characters. The show's about the people.
Yeah.
The show's about Mark and Helly and Gemma and all the people on the severed floor. I think that maybe opening the world up so that we can understand or see how their actions affect the wider world, maybe. But as long as it doesn't come at an expense of our main characters, right? Because those are the people we really care about. Their journeys are what we're really here for.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, if it takes away from what's going on with Gemma and Helly and Mark and Irving and Bert, then it's not really worth it, I think.
I think like we yearn for wanting to learn more about the world, because a world that exists with Lumen at the center of it being the end all be all of like pharmaceuticals and technology and all these other things. Like, we want to know what that world means. But again, the compelling things are our characters. And if we get like fits and starts of like what we see from the outside world, fine. Just so long as it's not from like Lumen's perspective, because they keep giving us these like outside lore drops of like, oh, your Audis were heroes that had revolted against Lumen and were celebrated for 6 months. Yeah, propaganda. Yeah. I would love to know more about the world, but I also would only want to know that if it's
material
to what actual characters are going on, and if they would actually affect, like,
I don't see at a certain point though, I don't see how it cannot be.
Yeah, but I don't see them like, I don't see this being like the ending of Fight Club where they're like blowing up the like headquarters of Lumen Industries at the end of this. Like, I don't.
But here's the thing. What I'm interested in is at the end of this season, if all of the severed employees are essentially causing a riot and they know that at least some of them, if they walk out of that door, they may never come back.
Yeah.
There has to be some type of outer world intervention in terms of like, are they going to stage a coup where it's just like, hey, we want a lawyer to come down here and give us rights? Because like, if I walk out of that door, I want some type of assurance that I'll wake up again. You know what I mean? Those are the things where I'm like, if it's just kind of like magic fairy wanded away, I'm going to be like, hey, yo, like they literally just killed a man. They kidnapped Gemma. So it's like, if Gemma walks out of there, what are the implications are, if this state is totally Kier run, can she go to the cops? Were the cops in on her kidnapping? We don't know any of that.
Has there been some sort of deep, because you would think that there would be major legal implications in essentially building a set of consciousness slaves to do all kinds of stuff, because there are all kinds of deep philosophical questions about personhood, about citizenry, about all of that stuff that would go into all of that stuff.
And it seems like Gemma would have died. So it seems like once they reach whatever that last stage is, their Cold Harbor, it almost seems like they kill everybody who's on that lower floor. So it's like, if they've been putting these baby goats into these coffins for the big cure in the sky, my question is, I'm like, how do you disappear a bunch of people and no one is asking questions? Because that is almost, it seems what Irving was trying to do.
Right. Because like even like not to get too deeply and directly political, but even like a pro-life, pro-choice debate comes back down to the establishment of consciousness and what it means to actually have thinking, feelings, and wants and desires, and how that goes into personhood. Yeah. And how that goes into like whatever. And so like there's a deeper question that the show obviously is gonna have to approach when you're thinking about the political and social ramifications.
And frankly, I'm actually kind of okay if the show isn't entirely interested in answering those questions. Gotcha. Because, again, the characters are compelling. If we get a sort of happy ending, quote unquote, wherever that is, people that make this show are way smarter than me. I don't know what that looks like. But if we get a happy ending for our characters.
Don't say stuff like that. Okay. I hate that type of shit.
Negative self-talk.
The people that make this show, these are a bunch of creative people who hit one. All right? You're Steve, the architect, Ahlman. These people aren't no smarter. You're brilliant.
Hell yeah.
Well, thank you.
I'm just being for real. I
appreciate that.
That thing right there is outlawed on the Midnight Boys.
Okay.
All right.
I appreciate that.
No more. No, it's outlawed on the Midnight Boys. It's outlawed. Like, it makes all of you guys have severances in your future. And if you don't do it, it'll be because you're not doing it. Go ahead, though.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But I'm fine with the like grander questions that the mere like premise of the show doesn't answer. Like if we just look at those things and like think about it ourselves, that's what kind of great art does anyway. Like I'm not looking for the answers. I'm just looking for the discussion. I think with what I'm really looking forward to seeing is now that Gemma is going to be hopefully at play a lot more in the next season. Do we see this as like, okay, we got to get a heist together to get Mark S out? Or is there a way to actually reintegrate? Are there ways to see what happens to the innies knowing that there's been a more full-scale revolution of a loss of an asset?
I think reintegration, dual consciousness would be a huge fucking cop-out from the writers of the show.
You think
so?
Well,
it doesn't even seem like it's possible.
Yeah.
Because it's like, Petey died, and it hasn't been something that any other person on the show has been able to
And
achieve.
then Ragabi, they failed with Mark, and then Ragabi disappeared. So
she's just like, I'm out, I'm done.
Yeah, if you call Cobell, I'm out of here.
Here's the thing, like, the show has to answer some stuff like, Bert seemed like he a shooter on the outside. It seems like
Bert, I just drove out on Irving crazy.
He's like, hey, you need to get on this train.
He's in his house
like,
reading books.
That's when he was like, look, you got to get in the car. And I was like, my man Irvin is done.
I thought that was the Sopranos episode. I was like, I thought he was taking him out to the woods.
Yeah.
I'm like, nah, Irvin.
Oh my
It's
God.
Miller's Crossing all over again.
Leave the gun, take the cannoli.
Miller's Crossing.
Yeah.
That's that shit.
John Turturro.
That's that shit.
Miller's Crossing's so
right
good.
there. You know what's that shit?
Miller's Crossing.
All right, do you want to?
I think Bert's gonna come, or I think Irvin's gonna come back. Irvin's gonna come back, and then Bert's gonna be like, all right.
Irving, Gemma, maybe team up. You know what I'm saying? Because here's
That's
the
a good
thing:
team up.
we still don't know why Irving was having the dreams or nightmares about.
The list of folks,
and we just sent him on a train. I was kind of.
Well, I mean,
he's coming back.
I feel he's coming back. I mean, it could be like a soft flow, like, hey man, John, you know what I'm saying? Spin, you did good work. Maybe you don't want to come back. Maybe you do. But we're gonna put you on this train if you do want to come back.
Or maybe it'll be closer to how Patricia Arquette's character, who we haven't talked all about. I'm bad with the names, guys.
Mm-hmm.
But like
Cobell, Selvig,
Cobell, like about how she was kind of in and out of this season, or wasn't there for the whole time, and maybe Irvin will occupy that same space.
I will say, like, this season was not perfect. I do think them being like, well, Harmony, she's the one who created Severance. I'm like, all right.
That's
That
a
was-
way bigger implication than
I
I
was
would
just
really
like, what?
need
They
to
just dropped it
explore.
on us, and I'm like, whoa, hold
That's a
the
huge
fuck
thing.
up.
That was probably the low light of the season for me because like it was cool to see Cobell. Not really cool, but she was out there Thanksgiving break, saw her ex, did some drugs.
No, that's cool.
You know what I'm saying? Who among us?
But
right?
but also, here's the thing. You're telling me that Lumen has a bunch of child laborers that were over here where they were basically hooking them on ether and making them make it like,
Well, I mean, that goes back to what you were talking about earlier.
yeah.
And the fact that there might not be very many rules or guardrails for Lumen.
Well, so
Yeah.
here's the thing. If I'm being like super, if we're breaking down, you got to think about it. So Kier Egan, the founder, right? He was an incest baby. So when he grew up, he had tuberculosis.
Yeah.
Like he got all the like he could bruise very easily. It was a painful childhood,
Mr.
right?
Glass.
He was working with his dad,
Yeah.
him and his brother in the ether vats. So I'm like, and then he goes to war and he's like, oh, I'm gonna make Lumen. We're gonna be selling medical salves. So part of me is I'm like, oh, this incest baby who was hooked on a bunch of drugs makes fucking Lumen. So a bunch of shit about when people are like, yo, why isn't there a bunch of security on the severed floors? Why aren't there more people? Part of me is I'm like, did he make this religious drug addicted cult? And everybody who works at Lumen are essentially people who are like, when they're like, we're running away from pain, he basically got them hooked up, religious. So it's like, there's a reason there's not that many people working on these floors.
Right.
Because if they're not severed, they essentially all have to be super, super, super indoctrinated.
Super
And that's what
committed to
that's
it,
what
yeah.
Cobell was. Remember, she had the little thing at her crib. You know, like the can't remember the right word, like the altar. That's what it is. The
Yeah.
altar
Yeah.
to Kier over there. And then when she got fired, she tore it down.
So she would
Right.
be one of those
She would
people
be
that
exactly who you described.
Because she just gave all of her ideas to Egan, to the Egans, and they're like, we created Severance.
Exactly.
So I'm assuming that with each successive CEO, like they were all building basically products that would help you run away from pain. Some of it was ether, maybe some of it was pharmaceutical drugs,
Yeah.
and Severance is
the
The
end all
ultimate.
be
the
all.
end all
Yeah.
be all.
I mean, that's
of
Lumen's
that,
goal, right?
the
Is to
evolution.
relieve the world of pain.
Yeah.
and you have to
Right,
think
so-
about it because they have 8. I wrote it here. They have 8 core principles.
Yes. Or is it
No,
nine?
they have not. They have
Nine.
9
It's
core
nine.
principles.
Read them out for people. Give it to us.
Vision, verve, wit, cheer, humility, benevolence, nimbleness, priority, wiles.
Mm-hmm.
Now, every single CEO has been, it's one line from the original Kier Egan. The 9th would be Heli,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So what I
Wild.
think, because we've been talking about this, I think that somehow they found a way to preserve Kier's consciousness,
Yeah.
and they're trying to put it in Heli.
Which is what I said on the group text, and Jomi
Jomi was like
Flamed
so
me up.
dismissive. He's like, nah.
Jomi
did.
flamed me up. I think that Kier's consciousness still actually, the question I asked was, is Kier alive? But once again, we're litigating in the show what life and death actually mean. So if his consciousness is actually alive, coming through like the little doll or through the speaker or whatever,
Mhm.
then that means that he actually is still
I-
formulating
Or is
thoughts
the
and having-
board? We've never seen the board.
The
Is the
board.
board
Mhm.
all of the 8 CEOs' consciousness?
Are they,
hooked up to a
still,
supercomputer
are
or
they
something.
still
Yeah.
some kind of way preserved? Like
Getting the real,
Arnold
like-
Zola in
Yeah.
Pantheon stuff. I don't think I think resurrecting Kier is an interesting thought. What I don't think it is like they've got like the Walt Disney brain frozen in a thing, and they're gonna, somehow resurrect him. What I do
Like
think
organically
is,
alive.
yes,
Yeah.
I think it's literally the spirit of Kier, right? Who best embodies who Kier was. That's why when James goes down to the severed floor, he's like upset because Kier, he's had all these children, legitimate, illegitimate, doesn't see Kier in any of them, but sees Kier in the severed version of Helena Egan. And that's what kind of like pisses him off the most, is that if you
It's a
were
kick in the
not-
nuts to his entire.
yeah, if the any you was the out of you,
we go, yeah.
we'd be set. If you had this drive, this fire, if you were the person that you were on the outside that you were here, I could retire, I could go home, but I can't because you're not that.
Right.
Right.
Or, which leads me back to the situation about the matrix of choices that all of these characters have, and kind of their best laid plans becoming mutated and turning out into something that they did not anticipate, like, at all. You don't anticipate that the process that you make to enslave people creates a more desirable person. Mm-hmm. You don't anticipate having to make the decision or having to think about whether or not, a real relationship. Like, what is the real relationship? Mm-hmm. Is the real relationship between Audi, Mark, and Gemma, or is the real relationship between Any, Mark, and Helly? Like all of these conversations and questions that get thrown on you, the show has to eventually, at some point, lead us to where we can understand what is actual human connection, choice, and autonomy.
So then my next theory that I was like wondering about is Gemma, what Mark is working on is a new chip that it's not just splitting you into any Audi, there's different versions of you, right? Because they're trying to mass produce a severed process. So if you have a fear of the dentist, you have a fear of planes, your severed self will kick in immediately and then will resume back. Do you think Lumen is trying to do that because their way of like reaching their goal of no pain is like, if we can mass produce enough of the severed process, then essentially we can control all of humanity. We can shut them off, shut them on whenever we want.
Exactly.
Right. True. I definitely think that that's the deal, right? Once again, we're going back to capitalism. Mass production of something that is, this is going to be a stupid example. Uncrustables, right?
Okay. I'm here.
Uncrustables, right?
Rocket.
It's an easily, it's a mass-produced peanut butter and jelly sandwich, right? Mm-hmm. When you think about the peanut butter and jelly sandwich, there's a lot around it culturally. A peanut butter and jelly sandwich is something that you get made when you're a kid. It's a thing. It's not just a food, but it's kind of like a feeling.
Yeah.
Right? So like when you eat the sandwich, it's like your mom made it for you with some milk for Steve. Like your mom made it for you with some milk. You get the peanut butter jelly sandwich, and then you get to a point in your life where you make the sandwich for yourself. Then you get to a point in your life where you don't want that no more. Mm-hmm. That's not something that you eat anymore because it's too caloric, it's too dense, it's too all of that stuff, right? But then the Uncrustables come out. And essentially what they are is a mass-produced, quick dopamine hit back to your childhood, and not just taste, but also in experience. Mm-hmm. What I mean to say is the best companies, Disney, figure out a way to take something that is very intimate and for one specific thing and get it to as many people as they can for all different types of reasons. Mm-hmm. So that's what they're trying to do with Severance. The question of the show to me will end up being not whether or not they can do that or not, but whether or not the people that they create in trying to do that are worth it. Like I said that before. Like, who do you become like when you're on the plane?
Yeah.
Like, does the plane person then, when the plane is descending on and getting ready to land, have an existential fear? Do they know what's like what happens? Do you create an essential like a wave of really otherworldly mini worlds people who live and die every single day?
Slaves, yeah.
The slaves. How is that like ethical? Obviously not, but it kind of is. But then again, it's kind of not.
And then do you want that? Because when we see Gemma in Cold Harbor, she's a ghost. She's almost not a person. Like, it's like she's lost any semblance of her person. Because we see her in that episode. She's fighting. She's like, fuck this. I'm out of here. And now all that's gone.
As human beings, we need our pain.
Yeah.
We definitely need it. It sucks, man. But like, and this is going to be something so fucked up to say, the death of my father in ways has made me a better man, right? I wouldn't do anything. I would trade anything to have my father back. But the journey of who I am, like as a man, I've had to do things and access things about myself and be there in ways for other people that I wouldn't have had to do if he were still around. So the reality is, and that's a really crazy thing to say, but you say that when you start to look for meaning within terrible things that happen to you.
Mm-hmm.
When you start to look for why this might have happened or how this might have affected you or what this means, you start to say that the end of my father's journey on earth is a part of my journey on earth.
Yeah.
So when you look at the show through like all of those lenses, you start to really, that's why it's so great. Because like every single time I'm watching it, I'm thinking, I don't know what the answer is here.
Yeah.
And so like, I don't know what the right thing is.
Even without, what I think with Audi Mark is so interesting is that when he makes the decision to cut himself off from his pain and birth a new person, we see how much of an asshole Audi Mark is, where it's like, there's a new life in his family. He has a nephew or a niece, I forget which one, doesn't give a fuck.
Right.
When his sister is just like, yo, I lost my sister-in-law too.
He destroys her feelings.
Yeah.
He minimizes her. Well, I didn't mean to step on you, but that scene was crazy.
Crazy.
He minimizes her, like, right, he goes, look, and at the once again, but even in that scene, you're thinking, well, shit, he's wrong, but at the same time, he's right.
But I think if he was actually dealing with this grief, I think he could be like, oh, I just didn't lose my wife. Gemma was more than my wife. She had a connection to my sister, to Rickon, to all of these things. And I think what's interesting is that he cuts himself off from his pain to essentially be able to move on from life. And Audi's Mark's life is shit. He does not have friends.
Yeah.
He doesn't do anything.
He fumbles old girl at season 1.
Yep.
Like
I liked her.
She was nice.
Yeah.
But I will just say, this is why I feel for Audi Mark. If I lost Gemma, fuck all this show, bro.
Oh,
like
man.
Gemma Cole.
Bro, that face card is crazy.
Crazy,
Gemma
bro.
Cole, man.
Like, I'll shoot up Lumen myself too, bro.
I said, yeah, I that's worth, doing the whole Wesley Snipes thing for. Like, it's
Daichin Lackman?
Get the name right, please.
Whoa, Daichin is, I don't know the last name. But I don't know if you guys know this. But
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
You already know, baby. Come on.
All right,
It's not, I didn't know
that's a wrap.
It's just you're so predictable.
All right, so before we get out of here, Steve, let's all walk through theories. There's some popular theories we have. Some online shit.
There was really mainly one that was
all right.
Prevailing on Reddit that was like, some people debunk it, some people perpetuate it, but it was called the Civil War theory. And it was basically stating that the founding of Lumen happened in 1865, the year that the Civil War ended, and that he was a wartime doctor, Keir, when he founded the company.
Which side of the Civil War was he on?
I'm guessing we could probably guess.
No, I think he was on the Union side.
I would think he was on the Union side.
I would hope
Really?
so. I would hope so.
You think so? Okay, so
he likes slavery, so he might have been on the other side.
that's the thing, because
Yeah.
like the prevailing theory being that this might have been an alternate reality when the Confederacy had won the Civil War.
Well, not really, because we see Milchick doing his thing. He living like kind of free at least.
But
so.
if it was the same alternate timeline when the Civil War like was won by the Union, this being kind of like a resurgence of Southern ideology that is like thrust through hyper-capitalism and like wanting to basically enslave people and then resurrect them, the important ones, through
just a way to make slavery more palatable for people.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't see a world where the Confederate win and then Dylan is married to a white woman.
Well, the reality is this. You don't have much to say about the Civil War or slavery because it didn't affect your people at all. So
Oh my God.
the reality is this is an FBA conversation. This is a
Oh
conversation
my
that we can only have between
You
me
can't do this.
and Charles and
because
Steve
on the
is
same
the people who need to be able to handle this.
on the same, you're gonna be like, dog, the
you're just-
diaspora man. I can't.
Wait,
see
Vin,
that.
you just said that I'm more
That's-
qualified to talk.
At least you have some skin in the game.
Wow.
Jomi's people said, y'all niggas handle that. Like, Jomi's people were
Bro,
like,
we have to come together, bro. We can't do this.
We definitely do, and we will, but it's still
You
a
can't,
situation.
no, that's
Jomi's people
you're
were like, hey,
no.
them niggas is over there.
This,
Like, go
All
grab
right,
them.
got
all right.
points.
Like,
That was really all I had. That was all I had.
So I like the Civil War theory.
I like it too.
I like the Civil War. One of my theories, Natalie and Milchick.
Oh,
light-skinned woman,
Yeah.
the secretary.
Yeah.
I think she went through a kind of Cold Harbor situation as well, and she
Oh.
don't remember. Because I think they both probably went to one of them schools, and they had a little bit of thing. They had like a love between each other, and that's why like Milchek was just like, "Hey, yo," he's kind of been looking for a little bit of like
Connection.
connection, and I think she's just like totally fucking gone.
On some Gemma shit. Huh?
I love her reactions though when somebody's talking to her, but she's not listening.
The board has ended the call.
Yeah.
The board has ended the call.
The board's ended the call, and she's just like gone.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's just
One question we really didn't ask though: is it cheating if your girl
Cheat on
starts
you with
fucking
you?
your innie?
Yes.
Are you holding that against her?
I'm gonna say yeah.
So here's the thing. It's not, but
It is.
it's
It
gonna
is.
feel like it.
Yeah.
This is where we get
'Cause-
into the emotional
Because
cheating.
you're gonna
yes.
be like, because really, when you really a G, then you know it's really not about anything else other than how that person makes you feel. So if your girl is looking at you like, hey man, you know, your innie is essentially the same person, but he make me come alive, you're gonna be like, fuck that nigga.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
gonna feel, it's not, but it's
Yeah.
gonna feel like cheating.
Yeah, that's
It's a
ultimately.
different- yeah.
It's ultimately what it comes down to because what it is you competing with somebody
and it's yourself.
and it's
it's
yourself.
yourself.
That's ultimately what. Yeah, like it's
But
ultimately
here's
the
the
point.
thing: it's like I could only get so mad because it's like. If she's described, she's like, yeah, man, he rocked my world. And I got to think about that shit. I'm like, it's still my face. It's still me. Like,
but
you know what I'm saying? It's still my part.
But she's talking about you crazy.
But she's getting. I don't want to get too graphic, but she is reacting physically to him for a different reason, right? It's like Superman and Clark Kent.
Ooh.
Like if you're Clark Kent before Lois knew, moronical, but before Lois knew, you're trying to get it with her as Clark Kent, and she's not feeling it. But then Superman comes around. You know that's you, but you like, he got all the swag, he got this, he got that. It's the same thing. You're jealous of Superman, even though Superman's you.
But I mean, the thing different with Superman is that he has to have those two lines separate, right? Between being Clark and being Superman. Like you don't want to mess that up, at least for the most part. Maybe with Lois down the line, but initially it's like you want to keep that. So even if you know, like, hey, I'm Superman, I got my thing going on, you still want to be keep those lines separate. For the innies and outies, you want to be one person. You want to be two halves of a person. So when Dylan's wife comes back and she's like, I kissed your outie, I kissed your innie, he made me feel some type of way that you haven't made me feel in a long time. That is like a shotgun shell to the chest.
Outie Dylan is a fuck up though, bro.
Yeah, man.
I like Outie Dylan.
Really
It's
sucks.
funny. She defended him, but Outie Dylan is a fuck up. Any Dylan has purpose. He's
a G, bro.
He's been able to stick there and stay there. He has Outie Dylan.
And I'm not gonna lie, when he's talking to her, he really like he be looking at her. There's love in the eyes. He's like, you the only one.
And honestly,
for me.
Outie Dylan kind of paid respects to Innie Dylan.
Yeah.
With the letter. He's like, listen, I like
Couldn't be me.
that you're around.
Couldn't be
I get
me.
it. She's perfect. Like that was sweet.
That's the
real.
best case for maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Hey,
here's
this
the thing,
sucks, and I
this
don't
is-
like you for that, but I get it.
This is the thing where I'm just like, the innies and outies are basically one person because like at the dinner when Irvin goes to Bert and whatever, homeboy's just like, damn, outie's a slut and innie's a slut. Y'all
Yeah.
the same person.
Right.
You know what I'm
Imagine
saying?
cheating on your man so much that you got to get severed and it's still a problem.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, guys, what a great show.
What a great
Amazing
fucking
show.
show.
What a great fucking show.
So,
Midnight
so
Meter?
whoa, before we go, Midnight Boys, we gotta be real. You're innie on the seventh floor. You running. Do you go with Gemma as she's banging on the door?
I can't
or do
account
you
for
turn
that. I
back
can't account for
and
that.
you go to
I can't account for that.
It's really not
It's impossible. Bro.
It's not impossible.
It's impossible for me to really answer the question.
Why?
I thought about it so much.
If I go out that door, I'm dead.
I guess you're right.
Yeah.
That's it. If I go out the door, I die. I know
It's
for
not even a
fact-
human thing to go out the door because you're trying to.
It's a survival instinct, right? Like
Yeah.
Helly over there, the love of my life. I know that if I go that
Jomi's
way,
right.
I can stay there. We can be in love. Or I mean, who knows?
I
what's
saved
gonna happen
somebody's wife.
in the
Yeah, but
next
here's the
5
thing.
minutes.
Here's the thing.
But
I'm gonna be real. I'm scared too, because like I murked the man, and now essentially my whole world is this one building.
One
Murked
building,
man.
yeah.
That
You know what I'm saying? It's one floor.
It could be, but remember they were talking about the equator, like a tall
Like
building?
it's a building.
Like
I'll see
that.
you at the equator.
I thought that was funny.
But do you choose a finite? You would
Finite or
Yeah.
death.
Yeah.
I think I'm running. Here's the thing. I think I want to say I would go to Gemma because Gemma bad as hell. But it's like, I'm not even going to be able to enjoy it. And at least I got the love of my life. If we got a 30 minutes, we got 3 hours.
Yeah,
man.
At least, I'm because here's the thing too. He's probably thinking, damn, because also we didn't talk about this. The minute he leaves that door, they're basically like, yo, you leave this door, you're condemning everybody on this floor.
Everybody goes with you.
Everybody goes with you.
And he's probably like, yo, I can't,
That's my whole
abandoning
world.
Helly,
Yeah.
Dylan, all of
Everyone.
them. So it's not just he's running back to be with Helly. He's just like, if I'm going down,
Standing with my innies.
I'm going down with the innies. Fuck this shit. Which is also why, like, I'm kind of now on Innie Mark's side a
I'm
little
with
bit.
it.
Yeah.
I see it.
I get it. I get it. I just think about the hell that Audi Mark has been through, and it sometimes draws me back in. But once again, these are the questions that make the show so compelling.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
All right,
Midnight meter.
Midnight, 12.
12?
Nah, 11. I'm just joking. Seriously, 11.
I think an 11 too.
Yeah.
Thinking
it's
11's
Just,
right.
and let me tell you something. This is not a shot at my people over at Apple. If it was on Netflix, it would be a 12. Because
If it's, I mean,
So
Netflix
good-
maybe.
so you wanted to binge
if this
this?
was no. If
No,
this
no,
was
no.
airing HBO at
HBO.
6 p.m.,
it would be
oh my god.
the
It's true.
impact of part of it stops
Frankly,
it from being. And by the way, even still though, I could argue for a 12. I could argue for a 12 because I think that this show, I mean, Ted Lasso notwithstanding, I think that this show is injecting the Apple TV dynamic
Yes.
into because Apple TV has a lot of great shows.
Yeah.
But I think this
No,
show
we
is
watch
doing so much work for Apple TV
Mhm.
in terms of the cultural market share that it has,
Yeah.
that you can make an argument that its impact, particularly this season, was a 12.
This
I
is-
mean, but also can we look at everything that's been releasing? I think Severance at this point, in terms of just like engagement, people
Yeah.
arguing, bigger than Daredevil, on par with White Lotus.
On
White
par with
Lotus
White
might
Lotus.
have more viewership, but in terms of like market share of like, motherfuckers ain't really arguing about White Lotus in the way they're like, Helly,
Yeah.
Gemma, da-da-da-da-da. So it's a game changer in terms of, if I'm at Apple, I'm like, this is the biggest win we've probably had ever.
Yeah.
On,
Might be.
on Apple Plus.
Might be.
I agree.
Well, because I mean, to your point, when I get into Severance, and I'm finish episode, go online, it is insane the kind of conversations. Like I don't think we've had things like this since House of the Dragon.
The discourse
Game of
is
Thrones.
really, really throwing this
it's-
show into the stratosphere.
It's nuts.
Every single pod in our space,
Yeah.
Nerds is covering this show.
It's crazy. The only reason it's not a 12 for me is not because of just how big it is. I think it could be bigger, like if it was on HBO, but I think it's still like enormous enough. So I think there was some stuff this season, the Cobell stuff, the Reintegration stuff, that kind of just missed for me a little bit. But other than that, man, this is just a phenomenal season of television. So I gotta go with 11.
I would put it at a 9 for myself. It's not hitting 10 just yet because I have a little bit more of few more problems with the series. But again,
Petey.
it's fine.
Wow.
Here's
Fine.
the thing. I thought y'all was gonna. I like the season a little more than Steve, but I do agree that 9 is a fair score. I would give the season finale a 12.
Uh-huh.
I'd
Sure.
give the Gemma episode a 12.
Oh yeah, the
I
Gemma
just-
episode is one of the
I
best
just think
episodes
like
of television
this
I've ever
is
seen.
this is a very strong 9, and depending upon how the year shakes out for us, it might be a 10 or 11. But because we gonna
Mulligans.
do midnight
Mulligans.
mulligans.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, right now of the shows that
Yeah.
I've watched, this is up there with Adolescence. I think I'm enjoying Severance season 2 more than White
Adolescence
Lotus.
is a different beast.
This
That's a oof.
Yeah, man.
Here's the thing, shout out
Adolescence.
CR.
Fuck, bro.
But CR got to start giving trigger warnings because he'll be like, yo, you should watch this shit. I'll watch Lioness. They blowing up motherfuckers in the first 5 minutes. I'm
Yeah,
like,
it's-
God
Lioness
damn.
is tough.
Yeah.
Like,
But
Y'all got it.
Adolescence is tough.
Y'all
It's a
got
good
it.
show.
It's a
It's an
great
amazing.
show.
It's an
God
amazing.
Damn.
I love
man.
myself too
Fuck.
much.
All right. So 2 11s, 2 11s, 2 9s.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, it's very high praise for Severance.
10 even.
10 even.
10 even.
Yeah.
That is a wrap. This week on the Ringer's feed. Tomorrow, Button Mash returns with their thoughts on Assassin's Creed Shadow. Wednesday, Midnight Boys are back with their reactions to Daredevil. And on the House of R feed, Yellow Jackets and Daredevil coverage continues. Our producers are Aleya, SOB Zenieris. That's stand on business Zenieris.
Yes.
Okay.
Don't get it twisted.
Gotta
Don't get it twisted.
Jomi, the explainer Adeniran, hashtag be the milk on social. An additional production from Arjuna, Milicic, Ramgopal. Chuck, take us out.
Severance season 2 stuck the landing. Shout out to all of our innie homies. And I want to send special love to the white girl inside of Jomi.
All right, we're back. I'll just start it. Whatever. Charles, tell us. You got the waves. I see you on Instagram. What are your thoughts?
Hey, coming soon, man. Coming soon.
Instagram. No, you don't.
He's got the waves. Man, I've seen these guys. The waves are a big deal. Like,
I'm waiting for Van's wave reveal.
not gonna happen.
No,
No, wait, why not?
It's just not because they took the hair from the back and they put it in the front.
Yeah, but it's gonna grow, right?
It's gonna grow, but it's not the same texture of hair.
Yeah, but you can do a fade though.
You could, but like I don't think the waves are gonna be a thing. I think I just want a good.
I also, because the amount of brushing, I feel like you want to be very gentle to the new follicles and shit.
Let the follicles go. I think that what I'm worried about is that I'll have a Republican hairline. Now, this is what I have to say. We talk about Black Republicans and, we land-base them a lot. But look, reality is there are a lot of different political opinions in the country. People are allowed to have their political opinions. We should all be able to talk about more things in politics. But what will not ever, 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 ever be tolerated is the fact that there is a lack of good barbers on the right.
Yep.
Every single nigga on the right that you see has a fucked up line. And I'm not talking about you homies out there in the community. I know some of y'all doing just fine. But when I'm on TV and I see the Black Republicans, they lines are crazy.
I think that's why they usually have like white wives, because like, if you were with a Black woman, she'd be like, your hairline's fucked up. Your hair is fucked up.
Why don't you go get your shit taken care of?
Yeah.
I see what you mean. Like, I see where you're coming from. But is it less that, because I don't know about the barbershops you've been in, but they've been some of the most toxic, just complete, like, you talk about like right-leaning. Some of those takes, they be really on that side of the
But they don't identify as MAGAs. They say the community.
Yeah, but but here's the thing, the MAGA Blacks they're not surrounded by a lot of Black.
That's what I'm saying. But that's what I'm saying. Is it not that they're not in the community as much as they just getting their hair cut by white people?
Then why do I'm not saying it could be. Why did the guys Bakari Sellers got a good line? You know what I mean? I can think of Hakeem Jeffries' line is fine.
Because they're good in the hood.
That's what I'm saying. So like I just before we get into the show, man, tighten up. Y'all want the Black vote. Get the Black line.
Last thing. Sometimes when I be watching like some of the international programming, like sometimes like a UK show,
fucked up.
I'm like, shout out to my UK brother.
It's different.
But their hair always. I'm like, dog. Just
it's different.
Line you up real quick.
It's different, but shout out to them. Like the UK.
Wait, they got Black. They don't got no Black barbers in the UK.
Definitely do.
They do.
They do.
Because
they do.
They do.
That's why it makes it inexcusable.
I mean, bro, Giannis and Wemby, they don't be having no line. I'm serious. Giannis plays without a line far too much. It's just a fact.
Okay, what about KD?
Well, KD did different. KD do what he want. We know that he could have a line. He's had a line in the past, but he just got to the point where he was like, fuck it. I get buckets, not lines.
Does it ever get that deep, though? I can't imagine a day where I'm like, no, forget the line.
Here's the thing. If I'm KD, I do think that it was kind of like a deal with the devil thing, where it's like, you could be one of the greatest basketball players of all time. Your hair's just going to be
Guys,
fucked.
we haven't even started talking. I apologize to the audience. Okay. We got to keep going. All right.